Yesterday, Strategy released their earnings report, and that by itself is a bit boring and to me really a non-event, because everybody knows if Bitcoin price goes up, their income also gets a big boost. If Bitcoin price goes down, they seem to have a loss on paper. So it's not really something exciting or something new. You know, Bitcoin this year has been going down, so you know they will report a loss, which they did. But it's not very interesting because we all know that they also accumulated a lot of Bitcoin in this quarter. So in the end, the paper loss or the paper profit, it really doesn't matter. What matters is how much Bitcoin do they accumulate. But the big thing about this earnings report was that they, for the first time, told that they would be willing to sell their Bitcoin. And now everybody's going crazy about this. A lot of people in the past were talking about how that's a really good thing that they will never ever sell their Bitcoin. Even sailors told this many times before in many interviews that they will never ever sell their Bitcoin. And now they seem to be coming back around this idea. And even though I think just by a hunch and a feeling, it feels great to hear someone say we will never sell our Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the hardest asset, which we all know. It sometimes does make sense to just face the reality and sell some Bitcoin. However, there are some dangers regarding selling your Bitcoin to me. Now imagine Strategy starts selling their Bitcoin because, for example, they can buy back their shares because the MNAV is lower than 1. To me, I think this could create a ripple effect because people might get afraid because they see, oh no, Strategy is selling their Bitcoin. They must be doing bad. So they sell the shares go down, Microstrategy says, okay, the shares are down according to MNAV, we can sell more Bitcoin, we can buy back more shares, and so it goes on and on and on, and by the end they have no more Bitcoin left and a lot of shares that are worth nothing. This is of course very hypothetically and very unlikely to really happen, but it is a possibility and it is something that might be dangerous in the future. Of course, selling their Bitcoin is more something that they will only do as a last resort, but it might happen in the future, and the fact that they announced this really put a lot of fear in people's minds, especially the people that have been tracking Bitcoin for a long time. A lot of YouTubers have been going very strong and very firmly about this, like, oh, it's so great that Strategy will never ever sell their Bitcoin. Oh, we love it for that, diamond hands forever. And now they have to, of course, find a new narrative and make it a twist like, oh, it's a good thing that they will sell their Bitcoin. It makes sense. See, I always thought so. Well, of course, it's just talking into the narrative. To me, I like the sentiment of never selling your Bitcoin. I would never sell my Bitcoin. But of course, it makes sense from a rational standpoint when you can get more money out of it and in the long term gain more Bitcoin, it does make sense to sell some Bitcoin. So to me, the earnings report was like all the Strategy earnings report. Basically, they're pretty boring. You already know how many Bitcoin they bought over the course of this quarter, so that's not news. You know they're gonna say, oh, we'll continue to buy Bitcoin forever as we can. We assume Bitcoin will rise in the next couple of years. We increase the sats per share. You know, they will say all these things, and they always say these things every quarter over quarter. Sometimes they announce a new financial instrument like Strike or Stretch or whatever. And now they also talked a lot about how Stretch is really performing really good. But these are no new things. We already knew these things. There is no new news regarding these things. It's great the way Stretch is performing, the way Strategy is performing in accumulating Bitcoin. But the big news today was that Strategy is willing to sell their Bitcoin in the future, something that they always said they will never ever do. So if you see people panicking about this, it's more of a meh thing. It's maybe a bit strange that they turn around their thinking about this, but well, you have to remain flexible in your thinking and in your execution, so it's good that they do that. What do you think? Were you shocked when you heard this, or when you read about it, or when you just heard it right now in this video? Do you think there will be a lot of selling of Strategy in the future if they would sell their Bitcoin? I really don't know what will happen if they announce, well, we sold 1,000 Bitcoin this week. This might put a big damper on the stock price, I think, but in the long run, they are very committed to executing, very committed to still buying Bitcoin, getting more sats per share. And I'm sure that in the long run, it really doesn't matter it increases the volatility in the short term. If they would announce that they sell some Bitcoin, people who are committed to strategy and believe in Bitcoin, I think for them this is really nothing that scares them or that changes their mind. To me, it wouldn't change anything. So let me know what you think of it, and see you in the next one. Bye.